All right. After evaluating the film, again, Auburn's a very good football team. Thought our kids played hard. Thought we need to play better. And like I say, we are definitely not happy with the outcomes we're getting and where we're at. We're making some mistakes at critical times and issues. We got to be more consistent on how we execute and do the things we do. But the thing about the mistakes, they're all very correctable. And the things we do, how we do it, we have to do a better job as a staff of coaching these guys and getting the techniques. And there are a lot of things are very technical in the things we're doing. Get them better, more consistent on how we do it. And they got to go out and execute and do those things. We're at the same time, it's close, but you're as close as your urgency takes you. And what I mean by that is the urgency to make sure we dot I's, cross T's. Because if you watch the film and the things we did, if sometimes when a route was there, maybe that's the time we got a little pressure. Or if the pressure come off, the route just didn't come open in time. Or the run, there's an angle there. If the tight end didn't push as much, if the tackle didn't push as much, the back misses the angle. It's just very technical little things that we have to really hone in on. Defensively, we got to do a little bit better job. We got outflanked a couple times, gave up some leverage plays. They got a critical drive in the end in some situations they did. And in the kicking game, we uncharacteristically missed a couple kicks. But we got to get better. Those things are things we hadn't been doing in that regard, so we're doing. We've got to keep working and practicing to execute better. We got to do a better job of coaching them. And like I said, I think our kids played hard. The game was very physical. It was a battle, and it was back and forth in times. We had chances to make some plays in the second quarters there. We didn't get some things on offense, and then when we got the offense going, we couldn't get that critical stop on defense that gave them that long drive. And you have to learn to play to each other as a team game to play those situations. But we have to get back to practice today and correct these mistakes and get ready to play Arkansas and get better each and every week and get down this schedule. And we still can have a very good football team. We do have a very good football team. We just got to execute better what we're doing and how we're doing. Questions?
Gabe, and then down front, Brent.
Yes, sir.
Coach, when you lose a game, you lose a couple games early, how much are you relying on the player-to-player leadership and guys leading each other, and who stood out in that regard?
You definitely have to. I mean, because that's the group. You have to learn to bond together. I mean, because, like I say, frustration can set in, anything can set in. That's part of sports. There's good and there's bad. And you got the group inside was, on offense, that's always, it's Oz, it's Kellen, a couple of those linemen, Green, and Big Dan up front, usually in that regard. Prater does a good job in that as far as keeping guys together. Defensively, Buddy Johnson's really evolving into a very, very good leader. He is playing very well, doing some really good things, and becoming that guy and understanding. Carper does a great job in that regard. Some of those other guys. So I mean, there's a good group. Braden, is your punter now. Those guys have tremendous respect for him, and he speaks, and they really listen to him. They have a lot of respect for what he does and how he does it because they know how hard he works. So there's a good core group of those guys who understand that and understand how we have to just go work and play ball.
Down front, Brent, and then to the left, Zach.
0 touchdowns in your first 6 quarters against Clemson and Auburn. How do you bottle that urgency you have in the fourth quarter against those programs?
Well, I think you just got to relax and make the plays. There's opportunities and there's plays to be made, whether it's a missed throw, a drop, a missed block. You just got to execute. And sometimes, I mean this, sometimes you try too hard. Sometimes you try too hard. You press yourself into perfection and you can't. You got to perfect yourself into executing and just trust your eyes and play. And that's something you got to work through. And there's no doubt because we had drives. As you look at this drive chart, first drive, and matching that drive. As you look down right here, we had a 12-play drive, the first drive. End up in a field goal and had opportunities where we throw a little route and they catch it by the shoelace. It's got a chance to come out. Didn't find the inch, missed the third down, missed a field goal. Then we miss a third in inches. We don't push down on the thing. Then we drive down and get a field goal. And we're in there. If we execute the third down play, if we come in and get the crack the right way instead of wait, it's a 3-step deal. He takes 3 more steps. His guy goes with him. The back's around the corner. It's not there. We didn't get those steps in. Then we come back and boom, we hit the big play. We're down to score again. Broke down to the 30. And had the guy they called the double motion, which we're scared to wait and see get a ruling back on that. And then we stop. And then we miss a field goal. And then we come out and fumble, get a stop, and then we score the last 3 times we have the ball. We move the football, but you got to learn to finish drives. You got to learn to focus, and just let the plays play. Play the plays. Trust what you do in practice, and go. And be better at executing in those critical moments. And that's what I say. You got to make those critical moments. And I say, and what I call match scores. You know what I'm saying? When they score, if you come back and get momentum in the game, coming back and how you match things. So, and get stops at that time. For instance, in the Clemson game, we go up 3-0. All right. Then Clemson drives down and gets a 7 the very next drive. Then we come back and we're driving again, and Kellen gets hit. Have about a 9-yard game. We have a turnover. Then we come back this drive. They get a touchdown. We're moving back down. Guy catches on a shoelace. We don't get a block on 3rd down and a catch. And we're just learning to match and compare and compete in games and how you do it. We're close. Just a matter of getting over that hump. We got to keep coaching them and get them to do it better. Yes, sir.
Zach, and then right next to him, Travis.
Jimbo, piggybacking off of that just a little bit, and the fact that you guys were able to score 17 points in that 4th quarter. I mean, was there a change of philosophy at that point? Was it moving a little quicker?
Yeah,
What
we
did you
got a
see from the
tempo
guys that
going.
they were
Well,
doing?
what happened was, again, it got to be rhythm. Football and sports, I say football, sports in general can get in a rhythm. We had a good rhythm the first couple drives, and at times in drives when we get a silly penalty. We didn't get those penalties, and we got into a rhythm there and got confidence and got playing fast and quit thinking about things and got playing. And we got those rhythms to score 3 straight drives with the ball. You're exactly right. Should have been 3 straight touchdowns. I mean, we we have a penalty on the 1-yard line on that drive. On one of them, we had to kick a field goal.
Travis, there on the left.
Hey, Coach, does it surprise you at all that at this point in the season, Nick Starkel's already worked his way back up to the top of the depth chart, and what is it going to be like playing one-year-old players?
I don't know. I mean, Nick's a very good player. I mean, I've always said that. Nick's a very good player, a great young man, and I don't know much about their quarterback situation, but it doesn't surprise me. He's a very talented guy that could play at a lot of places in this country. And like I said, was a very good player here. And so, no, it doesn't. No, it's happened. I've had to play guys in that before, and it's not weird. It's just it's part of today's world. You get used to it.
Right
Old
side.
coaches, old players.
Right side Olin and then Cease.
A few things. Ryan McCollum, was he healthy?
Who?
Ryan McCollum?
At times he was, and then he got back healthy last week. Yeah.
Okay. How do you plan to increase Anais Smith's?
We'll get him more reps and his knowledge of what he's doing and how he's doing it and the positions he's doing it out of. Just keep him practice and keep incorporating him into that.
Yeah,
And
I
then
wanted to-
from a knowledge standpoint.
Yeah, I
And he's a
wanted to-
good, smart young man.
I wanted to ask also, did you foresee any of the offensive issues, or have you been surprised at the way things have worked out?
No, I mean, we are because we're very close. We've practiced well, and had good scrimmages against our defense and done things, and we just got to learn to finish drives. And that's that's a status point which we have to get better at. I'm never surprised at anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were playing well. Can turn it around very quick. We just have to finish and get to those points and play well. We're moving the football.
Cease and then Brent.
So how do you get more on your running game? Were you making the same mistakes against Clemson and Auburn, or are they different mistakes?
No, they're not tactical mistakes. They're not missed assignments. We had a couple of Clemson on missed declarations that we worked to the wrong people. But these weren't. A couple times we physically got beat. They had a couple really good guys up front that really stuffed and played to run. Other times it was whether it was a tight end mashing, staying on it connected. Sometimes it was a back missing a cut. Sometimes it's just reps. And getting these young backs going back again, and because they had a lot of playing time when Jay Sean had taken a lot of reps, and getting them in there, incorporating what we do, and getting our linemen to consistently try to get more push, get more holes in what we're doing. And we played a very good front too. At the end of the day, that front there, like I said before, is one of the best fronts we'll play, if not the most physical front we'll play of any time we do. So we just got to keep doing what we do it better, and get more refined at what we do. And if we have to tweak and turn a formation or a scheme or something like that by each individual team we play, we'll do that.
Down front, Brent.
I know we talk a lot about the old days and all those things, but how disappointing is it when you have a guy like Brent? You very well could have, you're shallow at the position now,
Oh,
running
yeah.
back, where he could have gotten some carries coming up, but he chooses to leave the program and enter the portal.
Well, everybody has to make a choice for their own reason, and I have no ill will. So, I mean, that's their choice. But I loved him, thought he was going to be a really good player, and still think he can be a really good player.
To the left, Chuck.
On the run game, how realistic is it to maybe look at the quarterback run, maybe augmenting what you have right now?
Oh, it is. It's a part of it. I mean, that'll always be a part of what we do, and Kellen's very capable of doing that and handling it. That's part of things that we will evaluate and look at, no doubt.
Stay in the back, Sam, or Suzanne, and then Sam. Ladies first.
Okay. On your running game though, didn't it take a little while to develop against Texas State and Lamar, or was that just because those guys hadn't had enough reps?
No, Texas State, I think, Lamar, we hit it pretty quick. I think in the Lamar game we hit it pretty. Texas State, it did a little bit. They changed the scheme on us a little bit, in what they did in the first Texas State game. It took us 2 or 3 series. They had changed schematically what they did and how they supported things and gotten a different front, and we got to communicate on the sideline and then started getting, because it changed the angles of how we did things in the first game.
Go to the back, Sam, and then Gabe.
Jimbo, back here.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like your team is getting better right now?
Yeah, I do. I think we are getting better. I think we're learning how to play these situations. I think each of these will be learning experience. I think they're playing very hard, and like I said, we played 2 really good football teams that we had a chance and opportunities to make plays on, and we have to get better at that. We have to get better, but they're working to get better, and I think we have gotten better in some areas.
How do you keep guys from getting discouraged about what the result was?
It's funny when you talk about them and watch them. Don't become result oriented. You got to be process oriented. That's part of our program. I mean, whether y'all believe that or not, and it does get frustrating, and I understand for fans and everybody else, but we as players, we have to understand why the results are there. And as a coach, you do. As a player, you do. You can't get caught up in results. You have to get caught up in the practice, the process of doing it right so that it translates to the field. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what we preach and breathe every day. It's what I've always preached and breathed. And every good coach program that I've been a part of, that's exactly what we do. We stay within that own little bubble of understanding what we can control, and that's how we practice and how we play and what we can get better at technically, mentally, psychologically, all those different things.
Right side, Gabe. Time for a couple more.
Joe, what do you think about your sub packages on defensive job? Hansford's giving you in there, and Carper in the back. Some of these
Carper, they're mixing in, doing some really good job. It's allowing us to match things. Hansford's being a really good rush and disruption, and he can cover. I mean, he was an ex-offensive player, so he has good ball skills and can run. He's a very good balanced body control guy who's very strong and can accelerate and run. So I think as he continues to acknowledge what he's doing, I think he can be a really good player. And Carper is the ultimate. I mean, because he knows what everybody's doing, how to do it, make the checks, the things he does, and he always has himself in that right position to make plays.
Go to the back right, Coach Mike.
Coach, the game against Arkansas last few years, for whatever reason, has been pretty close. How much do you think a dominating performance on Saturday would do for the psyche of the team?
We just want a very consistent performance. We want a dominating performance in how we execute. That's what we're not. I mean, that's an SEC football team. It's 2-2, and this is a rivalry game, and they have good players, and they're on scholarship, and we're on scholarship. It's going to be 2 good teams that'll play and participate and go. And like I said, if we dominate, that's great. If we play, we just got to play well. Our goal is to play well in the game. That's what we have to do.
Down front, Brett.
How much of a point of emphasis is it to clean up some things, clock management issues? Like I'm looking at the third quarter, and here you are playing catch-up ball, and you have a delay of game, you have a false start, and
well, false starts. I mean, that's just hearing. The delay of game was early in the third. We weren't in a no huddle situation there, but it was making a check. They switched defense, and he didn't see the clock, and that's got to get cleaned up. Could have used a timeout, but at that time, timeouts were more valuable than the 5 yards. And we have one delay game in the game. That's true. The false starts came on the goal line. We had one on the goal line. We had one on a play right after the delay. Our young tight end jumped on a call. And then we have one actually a false start on a punt on a thing out there. We didn't line up, so should have been right there. I had 2 in a row right there on a delay in that. But all those listen, they're self-inflicted wounds. All pre-snap penalties. There's no excuse for a pre-snap penalty. There's no excuse for a pre-snap penalty. You have to do that and get it cleaned up. And like I say, jumping sometimes comes from being anxious and wanting to do something too much. You got to keep your poise. You got to set in your pocket or set in your stance or whatever you got and make it play. We got to clean that up without doubt. You can't have pre-snap penalties.
Down front, Travis, and then the middle left would be Justin.
I know every year there's lots of debate and talk about the merits of going up and playing in Arlington. Having done it now, is that what's your take on the game playing it there, or as opposed to playing it home and home?
I mean, I love playing here, but I think it's a great thing. I'm not against it. I really am not. I mean, I think that's a great venue to play in. You're in a tremendous venue. You're in an area where a lot of our players come from. It's great for their families to have access to be able to come there. In recruiting, it's easier for recruits to get to a game. They can come up there and see us. And again, I also say it, sometimes learning to play in neutral site venues is good for your program because of different scenarios that will occur hopefully in your future.
Go to the left, Justin, and then right next to him.
Coach, no doubt the quarterback gets a lot of the praise, gets a lot of weight. Obviously, kind of in the spotlight. When you can't run it, you're behind, lots on his shoulders. Just anxious to your thoughts on how he handles it all, and he seems to be the one that he's like, just give it to me, Coach. I'll be.
No, he does now. He doesn't shy away. And I thought down that stretch he made a lot of plays. He kept us in that game and gave us a chance to win, and really played some good things. And I said early in the game he had a couple opportunities that we just overthrew a ball here and there, and we jumped off sides, and there was a couple balls he had that he's going to the right spot. And we have big plays on possible touchdowns that at that time, and it wasn't a miss of somebody just got out physical and the pocket collapsed. You know what I mean? It's something when you're rushing you're playing a good team like that, that happens. So I mean, his decision making in the game, where he was going with the ball for the most part, missed a couple reads, but when you throw the ball 50 times, that's going to happen. I mean, with flashes and especially with certain pressures you're under. We pass block well at times. But he loves the competition. He'll be right there, and he's going to be the first one out there working his tail off. So he's getting better and better each and every week.
Wrap it up there in the middle on the left.
Hey, Coach, kind of going off that, Osmond mentioned how Mon has grown more as a vocal leader and how the team feeds off that. Do you think he's doing enough vocally to get to where this team wants to be?
Well, I mean, listen, each individual, you see, we have an image of a quarterback because you see when he is, yes, very vocal and does a lot of vocal. He doesn't yell and scream. He talks to guys privately and does a lot of that, but he does it to his teammates. Some guys, you know who never spoke? You know who hardly ever spoke, never spoke in the locker room, very rarely ever did? A guy named Joe Montana. How good was he? So, I mean, we get in the vocal, the guys can vocally communicate behind scenes, through plays, all that. Joe was never a guy. Brady's a guy who speaks all the time. I mean, Peyton was a guy who speaks all the time. It's just who your personality is, but the key is how do your teammates respect you? How do they respond to what you say, when you say, and to your actions of how you practice? So in that regard, Kellen's not an overly vocal guy, but he's much more vocal because he's much more comfortable in his skin doing his job now and knowing what to do, and he can also help people. And when you're talking about being vocal to help a guy when you're a quarterback, your knowledge of everything that's going on offense, it's not just, hey, you're pumping them up, but you know what they're doing to you a lot is asking you questions. Hey, if they do that, well, how should I do this? Is that what you want? And I think he answers those questions very well now through the knowledge of what he has and what he's worked with. So it's making him become more vocal because he's much more comfortable with the whole role and situation.
All right, Coach, thanks. We got some players coming down.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.